What if I told you that the way you approach your daily habits could be the key to unlocking a life of unparalleled success and fulfillment? Imagine a guide so transformative that it has shaped the lives of millions across the globe, helping them not just achieve their goals, but also redefine their sense of purpose. That's exactly what Stephen R. Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People offers. A timeless blueprint for personal and professional growth that goes far beyond surface-level tips and tricks. First published in 1989, this isn't just another self-help book, it's a game-changer. Covey, a world-renowned author, motivational speaker, and educator, dives deep into what it truly means to be effective in life. His insights on leadership, productivity, and success are not just theoretical, they're practical, actionable, and proven to work. What sets this book apart is how Covey builds his wisdom on unshakable principles of character, integrity, fairness, and human dignity. These are not just fleeting ideas. They're the foundation of a life well lived. But here's the kicker. This book doesn't rely on quick fixes or trendy techniques. Instead, Covey challenges us to rethink our habits, shift our mindsets, and commit to long-term change. It's a system that can help you reclaim control over your life, whether you're trying to be a better leader, improve your relationships, or simply find balance in the chaos of everyday life. So, why should you stick around till the end? Because we're not just going to summarize the 7 habits. We're going to unpack them in a way that speaks directly to you. We'll explore real-life examples, relatable analogies, and actionable takeaways that you can start applying right now. By the time we're done, you'll have a new lens through which to view your challenges and a clear roadmap to becoming your best self. Trust me, this is the kind of knowledge that stays with you for a lifetime. If you're ready to unlock the habits that could change everything for you, stay tuned. This journey is just getting started. Let's start with a question. Have you ever stopped to think about the lens through which you see the world? The way you perceive things, your assumptions, your interpretations, your deeply ingrained beliefs, shapes every single decision you make, every relationship you build, and even the way you handle challenges. That's exactly where Stephen R. Covey begins in Chapter 1 of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He dives deep into the concept of paradigms and principles, showing us how these unseen forces silently dictate the course of our lives. So, what exactly is a paradigm? Covey describes it as a mental map, a framework that we rely on to navigate the world around us. It's the way we make sense of what's happening, the invisible filter through which we interpret reality. But here's the catch. Just like a physical map, a paradigm can be accurate, or it can be completely off. Imagine trying to find your way through a city with the wrong map in your hands. You could be the most determined, disciplined, and hardworking person in the world. But if the map is wrong, you'll never reach your destination. Frustrating, right? Covey invites us to take a closer look at these mental maps we carry. He argues that many of us operate with paradigms that are shaped by our upbringing, past experiences, and cultural conditioning. These influences can distort our perception, leading us away from what's truly effective. For example, have you ever been so convinced you were right about something, only to later realize you were looking at it all wrong? That's a paradigm in action. And the ability to shift those paradigms, to look at the situation from a new angle, is what separates people who stagnate from those who grow. Now here's where Covey really gets to the heart of it. The difference between character ethics and personality ethics. Stick with me here, because this distinction is huge. Covey critiques much of modern self-help advice for being obsessed with surface-level solutions, what he calls personality ethics. Think about it. How often do we see books and articles promising quick fixes, like how to charm your way to success or 10 tricks to get people to like you? These strategies might work in the short term, but they're like putting a fresh coat of paint on a crumbling wall. They don't address the deeper issues. Instead, Covey makes a compelling case for focusing on character ethics. This means building your life on timeless principles like integrity, honesty, fairness, and courage. These aren't just abstract ideas. They're the bedrock of true, lasting success. When you live by these principles, you're not just playing the game. You're building a solid foundation that can withstand the test of time. It's like planting a tree with deep roots. It may take longer to grow, but it's far more resilient when the storms come. Covey uses an incredible metaphor here, the map and territory analogy. He explains that if you have the wrong map, no amount of effort will get you where you need to go. It's not about working harder or faster. It's about ensuring your map, the way you see the world, is aligned with reality. That's what he calls principle-centered living. It's not about bending the rules or manipulating situations to get ahead. It's about aligning your actions with unchanging, universal truths. Now, think about this for a moment. How often do we find ourselves reacting to life instead of proactively shaping it? Maybe you've blamed circumstances or other people for where you are right now. Covey challenges us to flip the script. He wants us to step back, reflect, and recalibrate. Are you living in a way that's aligned with principles, or are you stuck in a cycle of quick fixes and shortcuts? This first chapter is more than just an introduction. It's an invitation. Covey is asking us to look inward, to question the paradigms we've been clinging to, and to consider whether they're serving us or holding us back. It's about shifting from a reactive mindset, where we're at the mercy of external forces, to a proactive, principle-centered way of living that puts us back in the driver's seat. As we move forward, every habit in this book builds on this foundation. Covey doesn't just want us to change what we do. He wants us to change how we see. So, what's your map telling you right now? Is it time for a new one? If so, you're in the right place, because this is just the beginning of a journey that could reshape everything. Let's keep going. Have you ever felt like life is just happening to you? Like you're constantly reacting to the next crisis, the next demand, or the next challenge without ever feeling in control? Stephen R. Covey's first habit, Be Proactive, is all about flipping that script. It's about reclaiming your power, owning your choices, and realizing that you have far more control over your life than you might think. This chapter isn't just a list of tips. It's a mindset shift that can transform how you approach everything, from your relationships to your career to your personal growth. So, what does it mean to be proactive? Let's break it down in a way that really sticks. Covey explains that as humans, we're unique because we have something no other creature on Earth possesses: the ability to choose our responses. Unlike animals, which are driven by instincts, we have what Covey calls responsibility. Think about that for a second. Responsibility, the ability to choose how we respond to any situation. It's a simple idea, but it's incredibly powerful. No matter what happens to us, we have a choice in how we react. It's not the event itself that defines us, it's our response. Covey illustrates this with his stimulus and response model. Imagine something happens to you. Maybe a colleague makes a snide remark, or you get stuck in traffic on a day when you're already running late. That's the stimulus. Now, in between that moment and your reaction, there's a small but significant space. It's in this space that your power lies. You can react impulsively, snap back at your colleague, or fume angrily in your car. Or you can pause, take a breath, and choose your response thoughtfully. That pause, that moment of awareness, is where proactivity begins. But let's be honest, it's easy to let circumstances or emotions take over. Covey calls this being reactive. Reactive people are driven by external factors: their mood, the weather, the behavior of others. You've probably heard someone say, "They ruined my day," or "I can't because they won't let me." That's reactive language, and it keeps us stuck in a cycle of blaming others or feeling powerless. Proactive people, on the other hand, focus on what Covey calls their circle of influence. This is the set of things you can actually control: your thoughts, your attitudes, your actions. They don't waste energy worrying about their circle of concern, things like politics, the economy, or other people's opinions, because those are outside their control. By focusing on their circle of influence, proactive people not only feel more empowered, but they also expand their influence over time. Think about it. When you consistently show up as reliable, positive, and solutions-focused, people are naturally drawn to you. Your circle gets bigger. To really drive this point home, Covey shares one of the most inspiring examples in the book, the story of Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist. Frankl endured unimaginable suffering in concentration camps, losing his family and his freedom. Yet, in the face of such horror, he discovered a profound truth. While he couldn't control his circumstances, he could control his attitude. He chose to find meaning in his suffering and refused to let his captors dictate his inner life. If someone in those extreme conditions could hold on to their power to choose, what excuse do the rest of us have? Another critical piece of being proactive is the language we use. Words matter not just because they communicate with others, but because they shape how we see ourselves. Reactive language like "I can't" or "they made me" puts the blame outside ourselves, reinforcing a sense of helplessness. Proactive language, on the other hand, shifts the narrative. It's about saying, "I will," "I choose," or "I'm going to find a way." It might sound small, but this simple shift can change how you approach challenges, goals, and even setbacks. Here's a relatable example. Imagine you're trying to get healthier. A reactive mindset might say, "I don't have time to exercise," or "I'm too tired after work." A proactive mindset flips that to, "How can I make time for exercise?" or "What small step can I take today?" See the difference? One keeps you stuck, while the other opens up possibilities. Covey also emphasizes the importance of making and keeping commitments, not just to others, but to yourself. Think about the last time you promised yourself you'd do something, like starting a new habit or finishing a project. Did you follow through? Every time you honor those commitments, you build personal integrity and strengthen your ability to trust yourself. On the flip side, when you break those promises, you chip away at your confidence. Proactivity is about taking those promises seriously and seeing them as opportunities to grow. By the end of this chapter, it's clear that proactivity isn't just a habit. It's the foundation for everything else in the book. It's about taking responsibility for your life, focusing on what you can control, and refusing to let external factors dictate your happiness or success. It's a call to action to stop being a passive observer of your life and start becoming an active creator of your destiny. So, here's a question for you. What's one thing in your life right now that you've been reacting to instead of proactively addressing? Maybe it's a relationship, a project, or even your own mindset. What's one small, proactive step you can take today? As you think about that, remember this. Every time you choose to be proactive, you're not just making a better decision in the moment. You're building a habit that can transform your life. Let's keep this momentum going, because habit 1 is just the beginning. Imagine hitting the pause button on your life for a moment. Close your eyes and fast forward to the very end, your own funeral. It might feel a little uncomfortable to think about, but stick with me here. Stephen R. Covey asks us to imagine what the people in that room, your family, friends, colleagues, would say about you. What words would you want them to use? Would they talk about your kindness, your integrity, the way you always showed up for others? Or would they struggle to find the words, realizing they never really knew the person you were deep down? This exercise isn't just a thought experiment. It's the foundation of habit 2. Begin with the end in mind. It's about living with purpose and clarity, ensuring that the life you're building aligns with the legacy you want to leave. Covey challenges us to stop wandering through life on autopilot, reacting to whatever comes our way, and instead take control by designing a life that reflects our deepest values. So, what does it mean to begin with the end in mind? It's rooted in a simple yet profound idea. All things are created twice. Think about it. Everything that exists around you, from the chair you're sitting on to the phone or computer you're using right now, started as a thought, a blueprint in someone's mind. That's the first creation. The second creation is the physical manifestation, the process of bringing that vision to life. Covey reminds us that this principle applies to our lives too. If we don't take the time to intentionally design our first creation, the mental blueprint, we risk letting life's circumstances shape us. Let me ask you, How often do you find yourself reacting to the demands of the day without pausing to ask whether those actions align with your bigger goals? It's like trying to build a house without a blueprint. You might end up with walls and a roof. But is it the house you wanted? Covey's Habit 2 is a call to get crystal clear on your vision for your life before you lay another brick. To guide us in this process, Covey introduces the idea of a personal mission statement. Think of it as a compass, a clear statement of who you are, what you stand for, and what you hope to achieve. But here's the key. It's not just about writing pretty words or lofty aspirations. Your mission statement needs to be anchored in principles. And not just any principles. Covey stresses the importance of universal, timeless truths like integrity, fairness, kindness, and service. Why? Because these principles are unshakable. They don't change with the seasons, trends, or circumstances of life. Here's a practical example. Imagine someone whose life is centered entirely on their career. They pour every ounce of energy into climbing the corporate ladder, gaining status and financial success. But then something happens, a layoff, a market downturn, or even a personal realization that they've neglected their health or relationships. Suddenly, their world feels like it's falling apart. Why? Because their life was built on a shaky foundation. Covey warns against this kind of centeredness. Whether it's money, work, relationships, or even your own self-image, if your life revolves around something impermanent, you'll always feel off balance. Instead, Covey advocates for principle-centered living. It's like building your house on solid rock rather than shifting sand. When your life is guided by principles, you gain clarity, stability, and resilience. You're not swayed by the opinions of others or the ups and downs of life, because your actions are rooted in values that don't waver. But here's the thing. Having a mission statement isn't enough on its own. Covey breaks it down further with his roles and goals approach. He asks us to think about the different roles we play in life. Are you a parent? A friend? A professional? A community member? Each of these roles represents a part of who you are. And for each one, you can set meaningful goals that align with your mission statement. This approach ensures balance. It's a reminder that life isn't just about excelling in one area while neglecting others. Let's take an example. Say you're a parent, a manager at work, and someone passionate about volunteering. Your mission statement might highlight values like nurturing others, fostering growth, and giving back to your community. For your role as a parent, a goal could be to spend uninterrupted quality time with your kids each week. As a manager, your goal might be to mentor your team members and help them grow in their careers. And for your volunteer work, perhaps you aim to dedicate a certain number of hours each month to a cause you care about. This habit isn't just about the big picture. It's about applying the principle of begin with the end in mind to everything you do, from major life decisions to everyday tasks. Are you planning a project at work? Start by visualizing what success looks like. Preparing for an important conversation? Think about the outcome you want to achieve before you speak. Even something as simple as organizing your day can benefit from this mindset. Covey's message here is clear. If you don't decide what success looks like, someone else will decide it for you. And often, their vision won't align with your values or goals. Beginning with the end in mind ensures that every step you take is intentional, meaningful, and moving you closer to the life you truly want. As you reflect on this habit, ask yourself, what kind of legacy do you want to leave? How do you want the people closest to you to remember you? What principles guide your decisions today? And do they align with the vision you have for tomorrow? This chapter is a powerful reminder that you don't have to let life happen to you. You have the power to shape your own story, to live with purpose, and to create a life that reflects who you truly are. So, what's your blueprint going to look like? Because whether you realize it or not, you're designing it every single day. Let's make it count. Let's be honest. How often do you feel like your day gets hijacked by a million little distractions? You start the morning with big plans to tackle what's truly important, But before you know it, your time has been eaten up by responding to emails, attending back-to-back meetings, or dealing with last-minute requests. By the end of the day, you're exhausted, yet you wonder if you actually accomplished anything meaningful. That's where Stephen R. Covey's third habit, put first things first, comes in. It's a practical guide to aligning your daily actions with your long-term vision so that you can stop spinning your wheels and start making real progress toward what matters most. Habit 3 is all about bridging the gap between knowing your priorities and living them. In Habit 2, Covey helped us define what's most important, our purpose, values, and goals. Now, he takes us one step further by challenging us to take that vision and use it as a guide for how we spend our time, energy, and focus every single day. So, how do you put first things first when life feels like a never-ending to-do list? Covey introduces a tool that's as powerful as it is simple, the time management matrix. Imagine dividing all your tasks into 4 quadrants based on 2 criteria, urgency and importance. Let's break it down. Quadrant I, urgent and important. This is the firefighting zone. These are tasks that demand your immediate attention because they're both urgent and critical. Think about a last-minute work deadline, a sudden family emergency, or resolving a major crisis. While some Quadrant I tasks are unavoidable, Covey warns that if you spend all your time here, you'll constantly feel reactive and stressed. Living in this space might make you feel productive, but over time, it leads to burnout. Quadrant 2, not urgent but important. Here's the sweet spot, the zone of effectiveness. These are the tasks that align with your long-term goals, personal growth, and meaningful relationships. It includes activities like planning, exercising, learning a new skill, or spending quality time with loved ones. The catch? These tasks don't scream for your attention. Because they're not urgent, they're often the first things to get pushed aside when life gets busy. But Covey argues that focusing on Quadrant 2 is the key to living a purposeful and fulfilling life. Quadrant 3, urgent but not important. Ever feel like your day gets swallowed up by other people's priorities? That's Quadrant 3 in action. These are interruptions, unnecessary meetings, and requests that feel pressing but offer little real value. The danger of this quadrant is that it masquerades as productivity. You feel busy, but at the end of the day, you've spent your time reacting to things that don't actually matter. Quadrant 4, not urgent and not important. And then there's the danger zone, pure time wasters. This is where we find mindless scrolling on social media, binge-watching TV, or hours spent gaming. It's not that relaxation is bad. We all need downtime, but Quadrant 4 activities can easily spiral out of control, leaving us with nothing to show for the magic of Quadrant 2. Covey's advice is clear. The more time you spend in Quadrant 2, the less chaotic your life becomes. By focusing on what's important but not urgent, you can prevent many of the crises in Quadrant I, reduce the distractions of Quadrant 3, and avoid wasting time in Quadrant 4. It's about being proactive rather than reactive. But let's be real, saying focus on Quadrant 2 is easier said than done, right? Covey gets that, which is why he offers practical strategies to make it happen. The power of weekly planning. Covey emphasizes that managing your time effectively isn't about cramming more tasks into your day. It's about making deliberate choices. Instead of relying on daily to-do lists, he suggests weekly planning. Why? Because a week gives you enough perspective to see the bigger picture while still staying grounded in day-to-day responsibilities. Start by identifying your key roles in life. Are you a parent, a partner, a professional, a friend? For each role, set 1 or 2 goals for the week. These should be Quadrant 2 activities that align with your long-term vision. Then, block out time on your calendar to make those goals happen. This approach ensures that your schedule reflects your priorities, not just your obligations. One of the hardest parts of this habit is learning to say no. How many times have you agreed to something, knowing full well it would derail your plans, just because you didn't want to disappoint someone? Covey reminds us that every time we say yes to something unimportant, we're saying no to something that truly matters. It's not about being rude or uncooperative. It's about being intentional. When you say no to distractions, you're saying yes to your values and goals. Another cornerstone of habit 3 is delayed gratification. In a world where instant results are prized, Covey asks us to think long-term. Imagine planting a garden. You don't expect it to bloom overnight, right? You tend to it daily, trusting that your efforts will pay off in time. The same principle applies here. Prioritizing quadrant 2 activities often means foregoing immediate rewards for meaningful outcomes down the road. Integrity plays a huge role too. Covey challenges us to honor the commitments we make to ourselves. Think about it. How often do you let yourself down? Maybe you promised to start working out, but when the alarm went off, you hit snooze. Every time we break a promise to ourselves, we erode our self-trust. But when we keep those promises, even in small ways, we build confidence and momentum. Ultimately, put first things first isn't just about time management, it's about self-management. It's about ensuring that your actions align with your values and that your days reflect the life you want to create. Covey sums it up beautifully. The key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. So, let me ask you, what are the first things in your life? Are you giving them the time and attention they deserve? Or are they getting lost in the noise of quadrants 3 and 4? Take a moment to think about your week ahead. What's one quadrant 2 activity you can prioritize? Whether it's reconnecting with a loved one, working on a passion project, or simply taking time to reflect, commit to it now. By choosing to focus on what truly matters, you're not just managing your time. You're designing a life that's meaningful, balanced, and aligned with your values. Isn't that worth the effort? Let's move forward with this mindset, because the next habit builds on this foundation in ways you won't want to miss. Let's pause for a moment and think about this. How can you effectively lead, collaborate, or contribute to others if you're not in control of yourself? If your life feels chaotic, your values unclear, or your priorities misaligned, how can you show up as your best self for others? Stephen R. Covey's concept of the private victory answers this question with profound clarity. In Chapter 5, he brings together the first 3 habits: be proactive, begin with the end in mind, and put first things first, and reveals their collective power. Together, they lay the foundation for independence, self-mastery, and personal growth, creating a strong base for everything else in life. Covey introduces a framework he calls the maturity continuum, which maps the stages of human growth. Picture it as a journey with 3 distinct phases. 1. Dependence. This is where we all start in life. As children, we rely on others, parents, teachers, mentors, to meet our needs. But dependence isn't just limited to childhood. Many adults remain stuck here, operating with a reactive mindset. They blame others for their problems, wait for someone else to make decisions, or let circumstances dictate their happiness. Sound familiar? 2. Independence. This is the next step in the journey and the focus of the private victory. Independence means taking control of your life, owning your choices, and becoming self-reliant. It's about recognizing that your happiness and success aren't dependent on external factors, but on the internal choices you make every day. 3. Interdependence. Finally, we reach the pinnacle of maturity: interdependence. This is where collaboration, teamwork, and meaningful relationships thrive. Covey emphasizes that interdependence isn't about losing your independence. It's about combining your strengths with others to create something greater. But here's the kicker. You can't skip steps. You can't build healthy, successful relationships, interdependence, if you haven't first achieved self-mastery, independence. Covey's point is simple yet powerful. You have to win the private victory before you can succeed publicly. Think of the first 3 habits as the cornerstones of independence. Covey compares this process to constructing a house. Imagine trying to put up walls and a roof without laying a strong foundation. It wouldn't hold up, right? Similarly, your ability to succeed in relationships, work, and leadership depends on the internal strength you develop through these habits. Habit 1. Be proactive. This is the starting point. Proactivity teaches you to take responsibility for your life. Instead of blaming circumstances or other people, you recognize that you always have a choice in how you respond. This habit is about taking control and owning your power to shape your life. Habit 2. Begin with the end in mind. Once you've claimed responsibility, the next step is creating a clear vision for your life. What are your values? What legacy do you want to leave? This habit helps you align your actions with a purpose, giving your life direction and meaning. Habit 3. Put first things first. Finally, habit 3 is where vision becomes action. It's about organizing your time and energy around what matters most, ensuring that your daily choices reflect your long-term goals and priorities. When these 3 habits come together, they form a powerful synergy. You're no longer drifting through life, reacting to whatever comes your way. Instead, you're living intentionally, with clarity, purpose, and focus. Here's an important question. How often do your actions truly align with your values? Covey argues that self-respect, and by extension, self-mastery, comes from living in harmony with your principles. When your behavior matches your beliefs, you develop integrity. This alignment doesn't just make you feel good. It builds confidence, inner peace, and a sense of authenticity. Think about it this way. Have you ever made a promise to yourself and kept it? Maybe you committed to exercising regularly, waking up earlier, or spending more time with loved ones. Each time you followed through, didn't you feel a sense of accomplishment and pride? That's the essence of the private victory. It's not about perfection. It's about progress and consistency. On the flip side, when we break promises to ourselves, whether it's skipping a goal we set or giving in to distractions, it erodes our self-trust. Covey emphasizes that the private victory is about rebuilding that trust through small, consistent actions. Let's make this practical. Covey offers several exercises to help you apply the principles of the private victory in your daily life. Here are a few examples. 1. Reflect on your time usage. How much of your day is spent in quadrant 2, important but not urgent? Are you dedicating time to activities that align with your long-term goals, like planning, personal development, or strengthening relationships? Or are you stuck in the urgency of quadrant I or the distractions of quadrants 3 and 4? 2. Align your daily habits with your vision. Look at your current routines. Do they reflect the person you want to become? For instance, if health is one of your core values, are you prioritizing exercise and nutrition? If family is a top priority, are you making time for meaningful connections? 3. Celebrate progress, not perfection. Growth is a journey, not a destination. Covey reminds us to celebrate small wins along the way. Did you handle a difficult situation proactively? Did you take one step closer to your long-term vision? Every bit of progress counts. Here's where it all comes together. The private victory isn't about self-improvement for its own sake. It's about preparing yourself to contribute meaningfully to the world. Covey insists that you can't give to others what you haven't first cultivated within yourself. Want to build trust in your relationships? Start by being trustworthy. Want to inspire your team? Start by leading yourself. The private victory creates a ripple effect. By mastering yourself, you gain the confidence, clarity, and inner strength needed to collaborate effectively, foster cooperation, and achieve the synergy required for public victories. So, where do you go from here? Take a moment to reflect. Are you winning your private victory? Are you proactive in your choices, clear about your vision, and focused on what matters most? If not, what's one small step you can take today to move closer to independence? The journey to self-mastery is ongoing, but each step brings you closer to a life of purpose and fulfillment. And as we move into the next habits, we'll see how this internal victory sets the stage for building meaningful, interdependent relationships. Let's keep going, because the best is yet to come. Have you ever been in a situation where it felt like for you to win, someone else had to lose? Or maybe you found yourself constantly giving in just to avoid conflict, even if it left you feeling frustrated or overlooked. Stephen R. Covey's Habit 4. Think Win-Win invites us to challenge these patterns and adopt a mindset that focuses on mutual benefit and shared success. It's not just about being nice or trying to avoid disagreements. It's about creating relationships and solutions that leave everyone involved feeling valued, respected, and better off. Let's break it down, because this concept goes far beyond the surface. Covey makes it clear that Think Win-Win isn't a quick fix or some manipulative strategy to get what you want. It's a deeply ingrained way of approaching every interaction, rooted in fairness, collaboration, and the belief that there's enough success and opportunity for everyone. 6 paradigms of human interaction. To really understand what Think Win-Win means, Covey introduces 6 paradigms, or ways, we approach relationships and conflicts. Each one reflects a different mindset, and seeing them laid out helps us identify where we might be stuck in patterns that don't serve us or others. 1. Win-win. This is the ideal. Both parties walk away feeling like they've gained something valuable. Win-win fosters trust, cooperation, and relationships that grow stronger over time. Imagine a workplace negotiation where both the employer and employee feel their needs are met. A fair salary for hard work, coupled with flexibility and mutual respect. 2. Win-lose. This is the classic I win, you lose mentality. It's fueled by competition, ego, or a need to dominate. While it might bring short-term victories, it often damages relationships in the long run. Think of a salesperson who oversells a product just to hit their quota, leaving the customer dissatisfied and unlikely to return. 3. Lose-win. On the flip side, lose-win is when one person constantly gives in, sacrificing their needs or values to keep the peace or avoid confrontation. It might seem selfless, but over time, it breeds resentment and erodes self-respect. Have you ever said yes to something you didn't want to do, just to avoid upsetting someone else? That's lose-win in action. For lose-lose, this is the most destructive paradigm. When both parties are focused on bringing each other down, nobody benefits. It's often fueled by spite or pride. Imagine a divorce where both sides are so intent on winning that they drag each other through endless battles, leaving everyone, including their children, worse off. 5. When this is the me-first mindset. The focus is solely on personal gain, with no regard for how it affects others. While it might seem like a straightforward approach, it often alienates people and damages trust over time. 6. Win-win or no deal. This is an advanced paradigm that says if a win-win outcome isn't possible, it's better to walk away amicably than to force a solution. It's about recognizing when mutual benefit isn't achievable and having the courage to say, let's agree to disagree. Now you might be wondering, why should I aim for win-win when the world often feels like a competition? Covey answers this with a powerful perspective shift. Life is not a zero-sum game. Success isn't a finite pie, where more for someone else means less for you. Instead, life is abundant. There's enough opportunity, success, and happiness to go around if we're willing to look for it. But here's the thing. Thinking win-win requires a balance of courage and consideration. It's not about being a pushover or always compromising. It's about standing firm in your values while also genuinely caring about the needs and perspectives of others. One of the most memorable concepts in this chapter is the emotional bank account. Think of it like a savings account for trust in your relationships. Every positive interaction, whether it's showing kindness, keeping a promise, or listening without judgment, is like making a deposit. On the flip side, every act of neglect, dishonesty, or selfishness is a withdrawal. If your emotional bank account with someone is full, your relationship is resilient. You can survive the occasional mistake or disagreement because trust is already there. But if your account is empty, even a small misstep can feel like a betrayal. Covey encourages us to actively nurture our relationships by making consistent deposits. Ask yourself, what's one way you can make a deposit in your relationships today? Covey identifies 3 character traits that are essential for adopting a win-win mindset. 1. Integrity. This means staying true to your values and commitments. You can achieve win-win if you're willing to compromise your principles for short-term gain. Integrity builds trust, and trust is the foundation of meaningful relationships. 2. Maturity. This is the ability to balance courage with consideration. It's about asserting your needs and desires while also valuing the other person's perspective. Imagine a difficult conversation where you stand your ground, but do so with empathy and respect. That's maturity in action. 3. Abundance mentality. This is the belief that there's enough for everyone. When you operate from abundance, you're not threatened by someone else's success. Instead, you see opportunities to collaborate and grow together. Let's look at a practical example. Imagine you're a manager trying to resolve a conflict between two team members. A win-lose approach might mean siding with one person, leaving the other feeling alienated. A lose-win approach might involve avoiding the conflict altogether, letting resentment fester. But a win-win approach would involve sitting down with both individuals, listening to their concerns, and working together to find a solution that addresses both perspectives. Another example. Think about family dynamics. Maybe your teenager wants more freedom, but you're concerned about their safety. A win-win solution might involve setting clear boundaries while also giving them opportunities to demonstrate responsibility. It's not about one side winning over the other. It's about finding common ground. How to practice thinking win-win. Start with empathy. The next time you're in a disagreement, take a step back and ask yourself, what does the other person really want? Be open to creative solutions. Instead of assuming there's only one way forward, brainstorm ideas that could benefit everyone involved. Focus on building trust. Remember the emotional bank account. Small acts of kindness and understanding add up over time, making it easier to approach conflicts with a collaborative mindset. Covey reminds us that think win-win isn't just a strategy for resolving conflicts. It's a principle for building a better life. It transforms relationships from transactional to transformational, creating opportunities for growth, trust, and mutual success. So ask yourself, are you approaching your relationships with a win-win mindset? If not, what's one small change you can make today to start building trust, showing empathy, or seeking solutions that work for everyone? The power of this habit lies in its ability to strengthen connections, resolve conflicts, and create a sense of shared purpose. And when you embrace it fully, the ripple effects can transform not just your interactions, but your entire outlook on life. This is just one step in a larger journey toward interdependence and synergy. Let's keep going because the principles only get more impactful from here. Have you ever been in a conversation where it felt like the other person wasn't really listening? Maybe they nodded along, but you could tell their mind was elsewhere. Or worse, they jumped in with advice or opinions before you even finished explaining. Frustrating, isn't it? Stephen R. Covey's Habit 5, Seek First to Understand, Then to Be Understood, tackles this all-too-common dynamic head-on. It's a game changer for communication, not just for talking and listening, but for truly connecting with others on a deeper, more meaningful level. Covey starts with a simple yet powerful observation. Most people don't listen to understand. They listen to reply. Think about that for a second. How often, while someone else is speaking, are you already planning what you're going to say next? It's almost like a mental race to get your point across, isn't it? But Habit 5 challenges us to slow down, shift our focus, and prioritize understanding the other person's perspective before we offer our own. At its core, Habit 5 is about empathetic listening. Covey explains that this goes far beyond just hearing words or nodding politely. Empathetic listening means tuning in to what the other person is really saying, beyond their words, into their emotions, concerns, and needs. It's about stepping into their shoes and seeing the world through their eyes. To illustrate the difference, Covey introduces the concept of autobiographical listening. This is when we filter everything through our own experiences and assumptions. For example, if a friend shares a problem at work, instead of trying to understand their feelings, we might immediately say, "Oh, I've been through that." Here's what I did. While well-intentioned, this response shifts the focus back to us, rather than staying with the person who's speaking. Covey also describes 4 levels of listening that many of us fall into. 1. Ignoring, the lowest level, where we're physically present but mentally checked out. 2. Pretending, offering superficial signs of attention, like a nod or a without really engaging. 3. Selective listening, picking out the parts of the conversation that interest us and ignoring the rest. 4. Attentive listening, paying full attention to the words being said, but still missing the deeper emotional context. Empathetic listening, the gold standard, goes one step further. It requires us to engage with not just the words, but also the feelings, intentions, and unspoken messages behind them. Imagine this scenario. You visit a doctor with a health concern, and without asking you any questions or examining you, they hand you a prescription. Would you trust their advice? Of course not. A good doctor first diagnoses the problem. They ask questions, gather information, and understand your symptoms before recommending a solution. Covey uses this metaphor to drive home the importance of understanding before responding. Too often in conversations, we skip the diagnosis phase. We're so eager to share our opinions or offer solutions that we don't take the time to fully grasp the other person's perspective. The result? Miscommunication, frustration, and often a lack of trust. So, how do we diagnose in our conversations? By practicing empathetic listening. This means asking open-ended questions, paraphrasing what the other person has said to ensure understanding, and observing their nonverbal cues, like tone of voice and body language. It's about creating a safe space where they feel heard and understood. Here's the beauty of Habit 5. Once you've taken the time to truly understand someone, they're far more likely to listen to you in return. Covey emphasizes that this isn't just about being polite. It's about building trust and mutual respect. When people feel understood, they lower their defenses. They become more open to hearing your perspective because they know you've genuinely taken their concerns into account. Think about a time when someone really listened to you when they didn't interrupt, judge, or try to fix your problem, but simply let you express yourself. How did it feel? Probably pretty amazing, right? That's the power of empathetic listening. Covey ties Habit 5 back to the concept of the emotional bank account, which he introduced earlier in the book. Every time we practice empathetic listening, we're making a deposit into this account. Acts of understanding, patience, and genuine care build trust and strengthen relationships. On the flip side, dismissive or self-centered behavior withdraws from the account, depleting trust over time. Empathetic listening is one of the most powerful ways to make deposits. It shows the other person that you value them, respect their perspective, and are willing to invest your time and energy into understanding them. Let's look at a practical example. Imagine you're a manager and one of your team members comes to you with a complaint about their workload. Instead of jumping in with solutions or telling them to tough it out, you practice empathetic listening. You ask questions to understand their perspective, acknowledge their feelings, and reflect back what you're hearing. Only after fully understanding their concerns do you discuss possible solutions. By doing this, you not only address the issue, but also build trust and morale. Another example could be in a personal relationship. Picture a heated argument with your partner. Instead of escalating the conflict by defending your point of view, you pause and genuinely listen to their side. You might say something like, "It sounds like you're really frustrated because you feel like I haven't been present lately. Is that right?" This kind of response can defuse tension and pave the way for a more productive conversation. Covey doesn't just present Habit 5 as a tool for better communication. It's a way of life. By seeking to understand first, we cultivate humility, patience, and empathy. We stop assuming we have all the answers and start seeing the world through others' eyes. This habit is especially relevant in today's fast-paced, digital world, where true listening often gets lost amidst distractions and interruptions. Covey's message is a reminder to slow down, be present, and connect with others on a human level. So, here's something to think about. How often do you really listen? Not just hear the words, but truly tune in to what someone is feeling and trying to say? And when was the last time you felt truly understood by someone else? As you go about your day, challenge yourself to practice empathetic listening. Whether it's with a colleague, a friend, or a family member, make a conscious effort to set aside your assumptions, focus on their words and emotions, and resist the urge to jump in with your own perspective. Remember, Habit 5 isn't just about becoming a better communicator. It's about building deeper, more meaningful relationships. When you listen with the intent to understand, you open the door to trust, collaboration, and connection. And that's something we could all use more of in our lives, don't you think? Let's carry this lesson forward as we explore the next habit, because the journey toward greater connection and understanding is far from over. Imagine standing in a room with a group of people who all see the world differently. Some are analytical, focused on the smallest details. Others are big-picture thinkers, full of creative ideas and bold visions. Still others are practical, grounded in what can realistically be done. Now, imagine harnessing all those perspectives, not to argue or compete, but to create something none of you could have imagined on your own. That's the magic of Habit 6, synergize. Stephen R. Covey describes synergy as a process where differences become strengths, and collaboration leads to outcomes far greater than the sum of individual efforts. It's about embracing diversity, not just tolerating or managing it, but truly celebrating it as a source of innovation and creativity. Synergy isn't just teamwork. It's the highest form of collaboration, where trust, understanding, and creativity come together to produce extraordinary results. At its simplest, synergy means that 1 + 1 = more than 2. Covey calls it the essence of principle-centered leadership because it reflects the idea that when people genuinely work together, their combined efforts create something much greater than what they could achieve individually. Think about nature for a moment. Trees, soil, sunlight, and water all work together in a perfect balance to sustain life. None of these elements alone could create a thriving forest, but together they form an ecosystem that supports countless living organisms. Synergy is the same principle applied to human relationships. When people with different talents, backgrounds, and perspectives come together in an atmosphere of trust and respect, they can achieve results that no single person, or even a single mindset, could achieve alone. But let's be honest, valuing differences doesn't come naturally to most of us. Often, when we encounter people who think, act, or approach problems differently, our instinct is to resist, avoid, or even clash with them. Covey highlights that many people operate from a paradigm of sameness, preferring conformity over diversity because it feels safer and less complicated. But this mindset leads to missed opportunities for growth, creativity, and innovation. When we think about solving disagreements, we often settle for compromise. But here's the problem. Compromise usually means both sides give something up, leaving neither party fully satisfied. Synergy, on the other hand, goes beyond compromise by creating solutions where everyone benefits, a true win-win-win scenario. Covey gives a powerful example. Imagine two coworkers arguing over how to allocate a budget. One wants to invest in marketing, while the other prioritizes product development. In a traditional compromise, they might split the budget 50-50, but neither gets enough resources to achieve their goals. In a synergistic approach, they might brainstorm creative solutions. Perhaps they find ways to use marketing to showcase the product's new features, turning the budget into a dual-purpose investment that serves both priorities. Synergy is about stepping into the unknown and being open to discovering solutions you didn't even know existed. It requires humility to admit you don't have all the answers and courage to embrace uncertainty. Covey identifies 3 key elements that make synergy possible. 1. Mutual trust. Without trust, people become defensive, guarded, or focused on self-preservation. Trust acts as the glue that holds collaboration together, creating an environment where people feel safe to share their thoughts and ideas. Building trust takes time and consistency. Small acts of honesty, reliability, and respect build a foundation where synergy can flourish. 2. Open-mindedness. Synergy requires us to suspend judgment and truly listen to others' perspectives. It's not about tolerating different viewpoints, but embracing them as opportunities to see the world through a new lens. This openness allows us to discover ideas and solutions we might never have considered on our own. 3. Creative cooperation. Unlike traditional teamwork, creative cooperation is a dynamic process. It involves brainstorming, experimenting, and building on each other's contributions to create something entirely new. It's messy, unpredictable, and sometimes uncomfortable, but it's where breakthroughs happen. Covey emphasizes that synergy starts with communication, specifically, the kind of empathetic listening described in Habit 5. When people feel truly heard and understood, they're more willing to share openly and collaborate fully. For example, imagine two family members arguing over a decision about their aging parent's care. One feels strongly about keeping the parent at home, while the other believes a care facility would provide better support. Instead of trying to win the argument, they engage in synergistic communication, listening to each other's concerns and values. Through this process, they might uncover a third option, hiring a caregiver who can provide support at home, meeting both needs. Synergistic communication allows differences to become strengths. Disagreements aren't roadblocks. They're opportunities to discover new perspectives and solutions. Covey describes synergy as existing on a spectrum. At one end is defensive communication, where people avoid, argue, or compete, leading to tension and missed opportunities. In the middle is respectful cooperation, where individuals work together politely, but maintain their separate ideas and agendas. While functional, this level lacks the depth and creativity of true synergy. At the highest level is synergistic collaboration, where trust, understanding, and creativity combine to produce exponential results. Think of a sports team in perfect sync, or a band playing a complex piece of music together. Each member contributes their unique skill, but the result is a unified performance far greater than any individual effort. Synergy isn't just for boardrooms or creative projects. It applies to every area of life. In families, imagine siblings with different personalities working together to plan a family vacation. One handles logistics, another focuses on finding fun activities, and a third ensures everyone's preferences are considered. By valuing each person's strengths, they create a trip that feels special for everyone. In workplaces, a diverse team tackling a complex challenge can leverage their varied skills and experiences to innovate and solve problems. In society, on a global scale, synergy can help bridge divides, whether cultural, political, or ideological, to address shared challenges like climate change or public health crises. Let's take a moment to reflect. When was the last time you truly valued someone's differences? Have you been willing to step outside your comfort zone and collaborate in a way that felt creative and enriching? Or do you find yourself sticking to what's familiar, avoiding the challenge of diversity? Covey reminds us that synergy requires effort. It's not always the easiest path, but it's the one that leads to the greatest rewards. When we approach differences with curiosity, humility, and trust, we unlock possibilities that simply aren't accessible any other way. Ultimately, Habit 6 is about recognizing that life is richer when we work together. By embracing diversity and seeking creative cooperation, we don't just solve problems, we create something entirely new and meaningful. Synergy isn't just productive, it's transformative. It allows us to grow, connect, and achieve things that go far beyond what we could do alone. As you move forward, think about the relationships and teams in your life. How can you nurture trust, encourage open-mindedness, and foster creative collaboration? What would it look like to truly embrace synergy in your daily interactions? The beauty of this habit is that its benefits ripple outward, strengthening not only your relationships, but also your sense of purpose and connection. Let's carry this mindset forward into the next chapter, because the journey to interdependence and effectiveness is just beginning. Take a moment to reflect on your relationships, whether with family, friends, coworkers, or even casual acquaintances. Have you ever noticed how some connections seem to flourish naturally, full of trust, collaboration, and mutual respect, while others feel strained, competitive, or even transactional? Stephen R. Covey's chapter on the synergy of habits 4, 5, and 6, Think Win-Win, Seek First to Understand, Then to Be Understood and Synergize, focuses on exactly this dynamic. He calls it the public victory, the pinnacle of interpersonal effectiveness. While the first 3 habits of the book focused on personal growth and independence, your private victory. These 3 habits expand your sphere of influence, helping you build relationships and create partnerships that lead to shared success. Covey's public victory is about mastering interdependence, thriving in a world where your growth, success, and fulfillment are interconnected with those around you. Covey makes it clear from the start, this is not about winning over others or dominating relationships. Public victory isn't about control or power. It's about achieving mutual success and fulfillment through collaboration and trust. It's the result of mastering yourself through the private victory, and then applying that inner strength to build meaningful connections. In other words, public victory isn't something you take from others. It's something you create with others. It's the outward manifestation of the self-discipline, integrity, and alignment with principles that you've developed internally. Covey argues that you can't be truly effective in relationships without first achieving personal mastery. The brilliance of the public victory lies in how seamlessly habits 4, 5, and 6 build on one another to create a framework for powerful relationships. 1. Habit 4, Think Win-Win. This habit lays the groundwork by encouraging a mindset of abundance. Instead of viewing life as a competition where one person's gain is another's loss, win-win thinking focuses on fairness, mutual respect, and shared benefit. It's the mental shift that allows collaboration to thrive. 2. Habit 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Effective communication is the heart of all relationships, and Habit 5 teaches us to listen deeply and empathetically. By genuinely understanding others, we create an environment of trust and respect, making it easier to collaborate and find common ground. 3. Habit 6. Synergize. This habit takes win-win thinking and empathetic listening to their highest level. It's where collaboration turns into innovation, as diverse perspectives and strengths come together to create something greater than the sum of their parts. Together, these habits form the blueprint for cultivating relationships that are not only effective, but also deeply fulfilling. Covey reintroduces the concept of the emotional bank account, a metaphor for the trust and goodwill that exist in any relationship. Every interaction you have with someone is either a deposit or a withdrawal. Deposits build trust and strengthen the relationship, while withdrawals diminish trust and create tension. Deposits include acts of kindness, honesty, and reliability, keeping promises, showing respect, and genuinely caring about the other person's well-being. Withdrawals occur when you're dismissive, selfish, dishonest, or neglectful. When you break promises, ignore someone's feelings, or prioritize your agenda over theirs. The synergy of habits 4, 5, and 6 is most effective when the emotional bank account is full. For example, if you're consistently making deposits by demonstrating win-win thinking and listening empathetically, you're building a foundation of trust. And when trust is strong, collaboration becomes smoother, conflicts are easier to resolve, and relationships flourish. Covey emphasizes that you cannot have a public victory without first achieving a private victory. Why? Because you can't give to others what you haven't cultivated within yourself. Imagine trying to lead a team when you struggle with time management or personal discipline. Or think about attempting to build trust in a relationship when your own values and actions are inconsistent. Without personal mastery, self-awareness, integrity, and alignment with your principles, you'll lack the credibility and inner strength needed to influence others effectively. Covey provides practical examples of how the synergy of habits 4, 5, and 6 can transform relationships in various settings. 1. In the workplace. Picture a team working on a challenging project. A win-lose mentality might lead to infighting over credit or resources, while lose-win could result in some members suppressing their ideas to avoid conflict. But when the team adopts a win-win mindset, coupled with empathetic communication, habit 5, and synergistic collaboration, habit 6, they create an environment where diverse ideas are valued. This leads to innovative solutions that benefit everyone. 2. In families. Family dynamics are often rife with conflict, whether over finances, parenting, or household responsibilities. A family practicing the public victory habits might approach these challenges by first listening to each member's concerns, habit 5, then brainstorming solutions that meet everyone's needs, habit 6. The result is not just harmony, but a deeper sense of unity. 3. In communities. On a larger scale, public victory can bridge divides in communities, organizations, or even nations. By focusing on shared values, practicing empathetic dialogue, and embracing diversity as a strength, groups with differing perspectives can work together to address common challenges. A recurring theme in this chapter is the abundance mentality, the belief that there is enough success, opportunity, and happiness for everyone. This mindset is essential for the public victory because it eliminates fear and jealousy, creating space for trust and cooperation. When you approach relationships with an abundance mentality, you're not threatened by others' success. Instead, you celebrate it, knowing that their growth doesn't diminish your own. Covey invites readers to reflect on their current relationships and interactions. Are you approaching them with a win-win mindset? Are you taking the time to truly understand others before seeking to be understood? Are you open to embracing differences and finding creative solutions? Public victory isn't about perfection. It's about progress. It's about consistently applying these principles in your daily interactions, even when it's challenging. At its core, public victory is about creating relationships that are not just functional, but deeply meaningful. It's about moving beyond self-interest to build connections rooted in trust, respect, and shared purpose. And when you achieve this level of interdependence, the rewards extend far beyond individual success. You become part of something bigger, a network of relationships that uplift and empower everyone involved. So here's your challenge. As you go about your day, think about how you can apply the synergy of habits 4, 5, and 6 in your interactions. How can you make a deposit into someone's emotional bank account? How can you foster trust, embrace differences, and create opportunities for collaboration? The journey from independence to interdependence is one of the most rewarding paths you can take. And as we move forward, we'll explore how this foundation of synergy and collaboration sets the stage for ongoing growth and renewal. Let's keep building this momentum together. Have you ever felt like you're running on empty, trying to keep up with life's endless demands, but no matter how hard you push, you just don't seem to get anywhere? It's an all too familiar feeling, a mix of exhaustion, burnout, and inefficiency. Stephen R. Covey's Habit 7, Sharpen the Saw, is here to remind us that sometimes the best way to move forward is to pause, take care of ourselves, and renew our energy, focus, and motivation. This habit is about preserving and enhancing the most important asset you have, you. Imagine you're a lumberjack cutting down a tree. The saw you're using was sharp when you started, but after hours of hard work, it's grown dull. Each stroke takes more effort, and your progress slows to a crawl. A passerby suggests you stop and sharpen the blade, but you reply, "I don't have time. I need to cut this tree down." It's a vivid picture, isn't it? We're often so busy working, solving problems, or tackling tasks that we forget to take care of ourselves, the very tools we need to succeed. Covey's analogy reminds us that we can't be effective if we're worn out physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. Renewal isn't a break from productivity. It's the key to sustained effectiveness. Covey breaks this habit into 4 dimensions, each representing a critical area of our well-being. Let's explore them one by one and consider how they apply to your own life. 1. The physical dimension, caring for your body. Your body is your foundation. If you're not taking care of it, everything else becomes harder. Thinking clearly, managing emotions, even staying motivated. Renewal in the physical dimension includes activities that strengthen your body, like regular exercise to build stamina, flexibility, and strength. Eating balanced, nutritious meals that fuel your energy. Getting enough sleep to recharge. Allowing yourself time to rest and recover. Think of your physical health like a bank account. Every time you eat well, move your body, or rest, you're making a deposit. Every time you skip meals, overwork yourself, or neglect sleep, you're making a withdrawal. Eventually, an account with too many withdrawals and not enough deposits becomes overdrawn. And so do you. Have you ever noticed how much more productive and focused you feel after a good workout or a restful night's sleep? That's sharpening the saw in action. 2. The mental dimension, feeding your mind. Renewing the mind is about continuous learning and intellectual growth. It's so easy to fall into a routine and stop challenging ourselves mentally. When was the last time you learned something new, picked up a book, or engaged in meaningful reflection? Sharpening the mental saw could involve reading books that challenge or inspire you, writing in a journal to clarify your thoughts, taking up a hobby that stimulates your creativity, watching a documentary or attending a class to learn something new. Covey warns against mental laziness, where we stop growing intellectually and allow stagnation to creep in. Imagine your mind as a muscle. It thrives on exercise and withers without it. Staying curious and engaged not only improves your effectiveness, but also enriches your life in countless ways. 3. The social and emotional dimension, nurturing relationships. Human beings are social creatures. We thrive on connection, trust, and love. Renewal in the social/emotional dimension is about investing in your relationships and maintaining emotional resilience. Covey links this dimension directly to habits 4, 5, and 6. Think win-win. Seek first to understand, then to be understood and synergize. These habits are all about building meaningful, trust-filled relationships. Here's how you can sharpen the saw socially and emotionally. Spend quality time with loved ones. Express gratitude and kindness. Practice empathetic listening to deepen your connections. Resolve conflicts constructively and make deposits into the emotional bank accounts of others. Think of a relationship in your life that feels strained or neglected. How might you make a deposit into that emotional bank account? A kind word, a thoughtful gesture, or simply spending time together can go a long way in renewing bonds and fostering harmony. 4. The spiritual dimension, reconnecting with your core. Finally, the spiritual dimension is about aligning with your values, finding purpose, and nurturing your soul. This is deeply personal. What renews one person spiritually might not work for another. For some, it might mean prayer or meditation. For others, it's spending time in nature, engaging in meaningful service, or reading inspirational texts. What matters is that you take time to reflect on what truly matters to you and reconnect with your inner self. Here's a question to consider. When was the last time you felt inspired or deeply connected to something bigger than yourself? If it's been a while, what's one small step you can take to reignite that spark? Covey emphasizes that sharpening the saw requires balance. Neglecting any one dimension creates imbalance and inefficiency in the others. For example, 1. Focusing only on work, mental renewal, at the expense of health, physical renewal, can lead to burnout. 2. Prioritizing physical fitness, while neglecting relationships, leaves you feeling isolated. 3. Devoting energy to others while ignoring your spiritual needs can leave you feeling unfulfilled. The key is to tend to all 4 dimensions regularly, even if only in small ways. Covey introduces a powerful concept here: the upward spiral. Every time you invest in self-renewal, you don't just maintain your current capacity, you expand it. You gain new insights, develop new skills, and elevate your ability to live in alignment with your principles. Growth is not a straight line. It's a spiral that ascends with every small act of renewal. By consistently sharpening the saw, you create a cycle of improvement, where each level of renewal propels you to new heights of understanding and effectiveness. Practical ways to sharpen the saw. Covey stresses that sharpening the saw doesn't require massive time commitments or grand gestures. It's about making small, consistent choices. 1. Go for a 20-minute walk. 2. Read a chapter of an inspiring book. 3. Spend 10 minutes in meditation or quiet reflection. 4. Call a friend just to catch up. 5. Write down 3 things you're grateful for each day. The key is to prioritize renewal, treating it as a non-negotiable part of your routine rather than something you'll get to if there's time. Take a moment to think about your own life. Are there areas where you're running on fumes? Are you neglecting one or more dimensions of renewal? What's one small step you can take today to start sharpening the saw? Covey's Habit 7 reminds us that self-care isn't selfish, it's essential. By renewing ourselves regularly, we not only maintain our capacity to live effectively, but also elevate our ability to contribute to others. So, let's make a commitment to invest in ourselves, to grow, and to keep sharpening our saws. Because when we take care of ourselves, we show up stronger, wiser, and more capable, not just for ourselves, but for everyone who depends on us. Let's take a moment to pause and reflect. Think back to the journey we've taken through Stephen R. Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's been about more than just achieving success, hasn't it? This book is about transformation, changing the way we see ourselves, our relationships, and our place in the world. In this final chapter, Covey ties it all together with a focus on inside-out growth and the ongoing process of renewal. He reminds us that the journey doesn't end here. It's a continuous path of learning, growing, and becoming the best version of ourselves. Covey begins by revisiting the core principle that has guided this entire book. True change starts from within. He calls this inside-out growth, a philosophy that prioritizes who we are, our character, values, and integrity over what we have or how we appear to others. Think about it. How often do we chase external markers of success, wealth, promotions, recognition, without considering whether they align with our deeper principles? Covey warns that focusing solely on external achievements leads to hollow victories. It's like building a house on sand. Without a strong foundation, it won't stand the test of time. Instead, Covey challenges us to prioritize being over having. Who are you at your core? What principles guide your decisions? Are you living in alignment with your values? These questions form the heart of inside-out growth. This approach stands in stark contrast to the quick-fix mindset often promoted in modern self-help culture. Covey emphasizes that lasting growth doesn't come from shortcuts or gimmicks. It requires patience, discipline, and a commitment to principle-centered living. One of the most beautiful aspects of Covey's framework is how interconnected the habits are. They don't stand alone. They work together, creating a dynamic, synergistic system for living effectively. Let's revisit how these habits fit together. Habits 1, 2, and 3 focus on personal mastery. They help us move from dependence to independence, laying the foundation for self-discipline, vision, and purposeful action. Habits 4, 5, and 6 shift the focus outward, teaching us how to build trust, communicate effectively, and collaborate with others. These habits enable interdependence, the key to strong relationships and shared success. Habit 7 ties everything together. It reminds us that renewal, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, is what sustains growth and effectiveness over time. What makes this framework so powerful is its cyclical nature. Each habit builds on the others, and as you practice them, you don't just maintain your current level of effectiveness, you grow. Covey introduces the concept of the upward spiral to illustrate how growth is not a straight line, but a continuous cycle of improvement. Each time we revisit the habits, we gain new insights, develop stronger skills, and elevate our capacity to live in alignment with principles. Picture this. Every time you practice habit 1, be proactive, you strengthen your ability to take responsibility for your life. As you practice habit 2, begin with the end in mind. Your vision becomes clearer, guiding your actions with purpose. Habit 3, put first things first, ensures that your daily decisions align with that vision. This upward momentum carries into your relationships through habits 4, 5, and 6, and is sustained by the renewal of habit 7. The upward spiral reminds us that there is no finish line. Growth is a lifelong process. Every time we sharpen the saw, we climb a little higher, expanding our understanding, skills, and ability to contribute. Covey reiterates the importance of renewal, emphasizing that without regular self-care and reflection, we risk stagnation. Renewal isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Whether it's exercising to maintain physical health, reading to stimulate your mind, connecting with loved ones to nurture relationships, or meditating to center your spirit, these acts of renewal ensure we stay effective and resilient. Covey likens this to a tree drawing nourishment from the soil, sunlight, and water. Just as a tree can't thrive without continuous sustenance, neither can we. Renewal keeps us grounded, focused, and prepared to face life's challenges. As Covey concludes the book, he shifts the focus to a deeply personal question. What kind of legacy do you want to leave? Legacy isn't about material wealth, fame, or accolades. It's about the impact you have on others, the principles you live by, the trust you build, and the values you pass on. Covey encourages us to think beyond our own lives and consider how our actions ripple out to influence our families, communities, and even the world. Reflect for a moment. How do you want to be remembered? What values do you want to instill in your children, your colleagues, or your friends? Every choice you make, every habit you practice, contributes to the legacy you leave behind. One of the most powerful takeaways from Covey's work is the idea that principles are timeless. Tools, strategies, and techniques may change, but principles like fairness, integrity, responsibility, and service are eternal. They are the true north on our compass, guiding us through life's complexities and uncertainties. When we align our lives with these principles, we not only achieve personal and professional success, but also a sense of peace, fulfillment, and purpose. As Covey closes the book, he leaves us with a challenge: to take full responsibility for our growth and commit to the habits as a lifelong practice. The journey of the 7 habits isn't about achieving perfection. It's about progress. It's about striving to live authentically, building meaningful relationships, and making a positive impact on the world. So, let me ask you, what's your next step? Which habit will you focus on today? How will you invest in your own growth and contribute to those around you? This chapter is a powerful reminder that effectiveness is not a destination, but an ongoing process. The principles we've explored together aren't just ideas, they're a way of life. They're tools for creating a life of purpose, connection, and impact. The journey doesn't end here, it's just beginning. Let's take these lessons forward, continuing to grow, renew, and contribute, leaving the world a little better than we found it. Because in the end, that's what it means to live a life of true effectiveness. All right, here's something to think about. Every step you take on this journey to personal growth and effectiveness is a step closer to the life you've always imagined for yourself. But here's the catch. It doesn't stop here. Growth isn't a one-time thing. It's a lifelong commitment. And the beauty of it? With every new insight, every habit you master, and every principle you embrace, you're becoming the kind of person who inspires others, builds lasting relationships, and leaves an undeniable mark on the world. But this is just the beginning. There's so much more to uncover, so many more ways to level up your life. Every day presents new opportunities to practice these habits, refine your approach, and push yourself further. The question is, Are you ready to take the next step? If you found value here, imagine what's waiting for you in the next chapter of your journey. Hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications, and make sure you're here when we dive deeper into the tools, strategies, and insights that will empower you to live the life you deserve. Until next time, stay curious, stay committed, and keep growing. See you soon.